something important. They all here?
All but one.
Well, I'm going anyway. Let's talk about something important. Put the coffee down. Coffee's for mug clubbers only. You think I'm f***ing with you? I am not f***ing with you. I'm here from downtown. I'm here from CRTV. And I'm here on a mission of mercy. Your name's not K. Jared.
Yeah?
And you call yourself a mug club salesman, you son of a bitch.
I'm gonna listen to this shit,
You certainly don't, pal, because the good news is you're fired. The bad news is you've all got just 1 week to regain your jobs at Louder with Crowder. Starting with tonight. Starting with tonight's sit. Oh. Have I got your attention now? Good! Because we're adding a little something to this month's sales contest. As you all know, first prize is a brand new decked out Sony FS7. Anyone want to see second prize? Second prize is a pair of Ranger panties. Third prize is you're fired. You starting to get the picture? Are you laughing now? You got subscribers. Mug Club paid good money. Get their names to get them to join Mug Club. You can't tune in the subscribers you're given. You can't tune in shit. You are shit. Hit the bricks, pal, because you're getting banned.
The notification system is weak.
The notifications are weak? The notification system's weak? You're weak? I've been in this business 15 years.
What's your name?
F*** you. That's my name. You know why, mister? Because you drove here in a shitty news van tonight, and I in an $80,000 BMW. That's my name. And your name is your wanting. You can't reach your own YouTube subscribers because YouTube's not even notifying people. Go home and tell your wife your troubles. There's only one thing that counts in this life, and that is to get them to sign on the club that is Mug. You hear me, you fucking faggots? A, B, M. A, always, B, M, mug clubbing. Always be mug clubbing. Always be mug clubbing. AIDA. Attention, interest, decision, action. Attention. YouTube's not notifying you of Louder with Crowder's new videos. Do I have your attention? Interest. Are you interested? I know you are. You even hit the notification bell. You close or you hit the bricks. Decision. Have you made your decision for Mug Club? And action. AIDA. Get out there. You've got the subscribers coming in. You think they came in to get out of the rain? The guy don't hit the notification bell unless he wants to see your videos. They're out there just waiting to give you their support. Are you gonna take it? Are you man enough to take it?
Incredible.
What's the problem, pal, you fucking kraut?
You're such a hero, you're so rich, BB. How come you're coming down here? Waste your time with such a bunch of bumps.
See that mug? See that mug?
Yeah.
That mug is hand-etched. This year I signed Phil Robertson, Gavin McGinnis, and Roman Millennial. How many did you recruit? You see, pal, that's who I am. And you're an intern. Nice guy, I don't give a shit. Good computer, fuck you. Go home and play with your floppy disk. You want to work here? Close. You think this is abuse? You think this is abuse, you sucker? You can't handle this? How the hell will you handle the abuse you get out there in the YouTube comment section? You don't like it? Leave. I can go out there tonight. The materials you got and get 15,000 new Mug Club members tonight in 2 hours. Can you? Can you? Go and do likewise. AIDA. Yes, YouTube is f***ing with your subscribers. Yes, half your subscribers hitting the notification bell aren't even receiving them, and people should be joining Mug Club and bookmarking your page. Get mad, you sons of bitches. Get mad. Do you know what it takes to grow Mug Club? It takes hand-etched, hand-painted balls to grow Mug Club. Go and do likewise, gents. Mug Club's for closers. That's about how much snap is coming your way today.
Ooh.
Like Nake Jared throwing that jab in Courtney's face when they do their kickboxing match.
Now
I'm
bite the
trying
ear.
to get it going on.
Bite the
Why?
ear.
Because incredible guests today. We have Elon Musk.
Boom.
We have
What?
Ryan Bader.
Boom.
We have Blaire White. We have Ben Shapiro. And we have Owen Benjamin. Owen Benjamin was, I believe, later on with a little ditty.
Little ditty.
So big show, a lot of news to get to. With North Korea that's been happening, and of course Iran. We haven't talked about it that much this week because we wanted to see it play out. Spoiler alert. Not very well. Producing with me in video studio, as always, is Jared, who is not gay. Follow him on Twitter, not gay Jared. Meet us, cry with your comments, your thoughts, your photoshops. We got a great Photoshop recently with a portrait of me with Hopper and the Kramer thing. I guess it's not a Photoshop so much as a painting. Send them. We love them. We're gonna get that up in the studio. I fulfill my legal obligations during conclusions. Are we good?
Good, I appreciate that.
G. Morgan Jr. at G. Morgan Jr. SimplifiedWine.com. He drinks a lot.
I do.
Usually he'd be considered a wino, but you slap a title on him, sommelier, and all of a sudden he has more taste buds. What's the wine of the day?
Perfect. Chateau Saint Michel Ethos.
Chateau Saint Michel Ethos.
Chateau Saint Michel.
So you say Michelle, so it sounds like a girl's name. Yeah, there you go. Hey, Sven, with the overlays, are you ready? At Sven, see, I almost did it. I almost did it because I was giving you hope. See, I was giving you hope.
What in the world just happened?
I was giving you hope.
I'm ready, beep beep. And
Yeah.
as a sign of peace in the Iranian sense, I want to add some
That was pretty good. It's pretty good.
Close one.
You can
Gotta
go.
watch those Germans.
You can go straight to where Angela Merkel dwells.
Ooh. Is this Walther's shirt day and I didn't get the memo? Like
No, I don't know. By the way, Walther, don't say that you didn't get more than you paid for. I do love their firearms. Question of the day before we move on. Why should the U.S., in relation to North Korea and Iran, why should the USA give a rat's ass as to what other countries think about us, our responsibilities, our military, what we need to give to NATO? Haven't we reached the point, regardless of whether you like President Trump or not, have we reached the point where we say, you know what, Germany? You know what, France? You know what? Insert any country that's not the United States here, especially Canada. You've lost your say. Comment. I'd love to see what you. I genuinely, I was like, I must have asked this question before. No,
course.
never. I've never asked it.
You didn't even thank you for saving the entire world.
Well, we have to move on to more important news before we get to that. Roman Polanski apparently came out and he dismissed the hashtag #MeToo movement as mass hysteria from NBC News. In an interview with a Polish Newsweek, the director said that the Me Too reckoning is an example of, quote, collective hysteria that occasionally grips society, leading people to react mostly out of fear. Yes, responded to throngs of underage girls he sodomized on Quaaludes.
Quaaludes.
Roman Polanski, was Bill Cosby not available? You couldn't get Woody Allen on the payroll?
Quaaludes. Millennial rape victims are so spoiled.
Yes.
So spoiled.
Somebody who
Roman
should just keep their
Polanski.
head down. Are you kidding
Gosh.
me? Of all people, hashtag shut up.
It's like, listen, you managed to avoid arrest. Shut up, take the W, and go away.
Exactly.
Okay?
Don't come back.
It could get a lot worse for
People
you.
report this like it's real news. Like, and I'm up next. Dylan Roof speaks out on gun control now.
Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I'll stay tuned.
Hey, a woman on Huffington Post, by this, I don't know any other way to. It's hard for me to explain this in a way
Yeah, this is interesting.
that provides context. I'm going to do my best. So at HuffPo, this lady is now saying that theme parks fat shame guests when they don't let them enjoy all the rides. So this is a direct quote. It says, while safety is often the given reason that fat people are excluded, it's clear that companies are actually just keeping the general public safe from our fatness. I refuse to take on the additional guilt of not having gotten into Harry Potter until I was 35. Okay, first off, those listening terrestrially, I want you to think of the words that I just spoke in the order I spoke them to form that sentence. Kill yourself. Because it's worse than Stephen King's The Mist. You don't want to be here for the rest of this.
That's low. No
The
bar.
fact that you wanted to get on the Harry Potter ride?
And so this girl was right. This was the person who was banned, I guess, from Harry Potter World for being so fat. I've been on those rides, by the way.
Yeah.
They're not very girthy.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. I can.
And I was next to a girthy person there, so I'm surprised if this person couldn't fit, then it must have been really bad. But then a person at Huffington Post was writing about it, chiming in like velociraptors communicating over their fatness. And she wrote, "I'll admit that despite the annoying J.K. Rowling versus Native people scandal that I doubt you've heard anything about, but I followed because I'm Native." So this is the author at Huffington Post. Right to the fat Native American victim card. Someone gets the bitch needs a smallpox tarp, okay? I'm reading people at Huffington Post who I can't stand, write about people who I can't stand for you, because you can't be bothered. Because you don't want to read Huffington Post, and I don't blame you.
And if you think that's like somewhere deep in the article, no, she led.
That was the lead.
That was the lead.
Oh my.
Which is funny. You don't even really think of indigenous people as fat generally. But this writer, HuffPo, she claims to be a part of the, I want to make sure I get this right for fear of HuffPo writers, claims to be a part of the Minnecapache tribe, which actually from its native tongue translates to one who requires the north wall to her apartment be broken down when she has a stroke. A peaceful journey into the afterlife, young coronary. May you be kept safe till you see the great red chief. Ronald Weasley. How? How fat are you that you couldn't make it to the venture through Hogwarts?
You
I
disgusting
didn't typically have enough
Manuel.
food to get all that fed. Come on. You live in a privileged age.
Another story, people aren't going to like this. A flaming rabbit has now been blamed officially for sparking a Saskatchewan wildfire. This comes from my homeland. So for those who don't know, a planned fire was carried out by a fire department at Beardy's in Okemisi's Creek Nation. Unfortunately, after a controlled burn was conducted and thought to be extinguished, a rabbit on fire lit another adjacent section of bush. They should have never let that little prick volunteer as tribute. It's in the name. What did you expect, Saskatchewan?
Do you know how pissed Smokey the Bear is?
Yes.
I trusted you.
You were one of us. You were in the commercials.
I trusted you.
I made you famous.
You were like a brother to me.
Oh, the fun is flame-throwing rabbits. Hey, a Texas school is now making headlines. This, and we're gonna get to Iran and North Korea, trust me. But it's been a long week. They're making headlines for their tradition of birthday spankings. Yeah, this comes from a CBS local station in Texas. It's been a tradition for 8 years at Alvord Elementary School for Principal Bridget Williams to give students, quote, birthday spankings. Until recently when parents complained, calling it inappropriate. Kinda. Goes on to say, many parents defended Principal Williams with parents like Heather Redder saying they're not used to a small town community, and that's what we are. People that move here from the big city, they don't realize, they're not used to this, because a lot of people have been moving from the big city into Texas for the economy. So it's true, and it's changed the culture. The practice has since been exchanged with birthday, quote, light choking and putting your hand in its mouth. So it's almost like you're exchanging one for something worse.
You know, Woody Allen's just like, can I go back and major in that?
Yes.
Is that a program?
And
or
Roman
is that just
Polanski
a-
is saying,
more of a service?
stop your bitching.
Need a guest lecturer? Because I'm an expert in the field.
I don't think they have guest lecturers at grade schools.
Listen.
They do have guest spankers, though, apparently.
That's right.
Would you like to spank our children? I mean, listen, I think we're pansified. And even I read this going like,
Oh, geez.
birthday spankings?
Wow.
I
Wow.
thought it was a guy that was doing it. It's a woman.
All right. Someone searched that principal's office, because I guarantee you there's a poster on the wall like Shawshank. We're going to carve out a hole and find a sex dungeon in there. In other news, Principal Dufresne, New York mayoral candidate Cynthia Nixon, came out and said that pot could be a form of reparations in black neighborhoods.
Yeah, that's good.
So Nixon on Saturday told Forbes, we have to make sure that communities that have been harmed and devastated by, because sometimes people say you're afraid to do the black lady voice because of political correctness. I just don't think of it. So You're welcome. Have been devastated by marijuana arrests. Get the first shot at this industry. It's a form of reparations. And Reverend Al Sharpton, I kid you not, came out and tweeted, quote, let's bring this, you have it, Sven Computer, let's bring this up. I'm for legalizing marijuana and I like Cynthia Nixon, but putting pot shops in our communities is not reparations. What the black community needs most at this moment are teleprompters.
To build a movement of resistance, but resist we much. We must and we will much.
Still funny.
About that be committed.
It's like, and boom goes the dynamite.
He's worse than I am.
Note to Cynthia Nixon, when Al Sharpton calls you out for race baiting, you're too high.
It's too high. You bet.
Puff, puff, pass.
Put the pot away.
It's so genius. You gotta respect the game.
Yeah.
Respect the game.
Yeah. So what we were campaign managers. We're Red Man. Got to get weed, man. Reparations.
You can be voted in every time.
Can I get some of that reparations? Speaking of the chronic, Dr. Dre just lost a trademark battle with a gynecologist called Dr. D-R-A-I Dr. Dre. That's a bad. Yeah. This comes from the BBC. The case was first 2015 is when the case first came up. When gynecologist Dreon M. Birch tried to trademark the name Dr. Dre, the other Dr. Dre, if this sounds confusing, objected, saying the similarity could cause, quote, confusion, especially as his near namesake he wanted to sell audiobooks and seminars under the moniker. Hey, okay, listen. Let's
About what?
Dr. Dre, you're not a real doctor, and you're also not a real Dre.
That's very true.
Dr. Dre should now be known as illegally unlicensed charlatan Andre. Also, it turns out Snoop Dogg is not even a real dog, but surprisingly is a proctologist.
Aw.
Yeah. That's what we call a twist.
That does not look fun. Moon River.
He likes to snoop them dogs.
Yes.
Get on up in there.
Do some time in prison there, Doc?
I'm up, you B-U-double-T. So vape pens, apparently now too, are exploding in people's faces. This is a pandemic.
Awesome.
Exhibit A, story from this week, this guy.
This is Idaho car salesman Andrew Hall, formerly an enthusiastic vapor. But Andrew has vowed to quit smoking for good after his vape pen blew up in his face. The explosion happened over the weekend when Andrew was enjoying a few
I don't know
toots of
what kind of
electronic
news
smoke while getting
site
ready
this
for
is.
work. Andrew wrote on Facebook that he was vaping in his bathroom when his vape pen exploded.
That's good work,
Posting
Prep.
from the hospital ICU ward.
Investigation. Actually, this is commonly, it's been happening a lot throughout the country.
Really?
Reveals that it's actually a chemical combustion that occurs when nicotine reacts with too much douche.
You drew me in there, punk.
What does
Did you
it
see?
take?
Did you? Yeah, go ahead.
What does it take to start a national conversation about vape culture?
I don't know. Did you see the
playing
explosion,
games.
by the way? For people who are listening audio or people who go look at the picture. There's like the drywall is gone. There's soot all over the wall. What was he vaping? An Acme firecracker? Was the Roadrunner in the bathtub with a plunger? Beam, beam. Oh! I'm gonna Instagram this. It's so bad. The explosion.
Beep beep. Anvil.
His teeth were everywhere.
I kind of hate vapors anyway.
And when he was asked, too, what's the crazy thing? When he was asked if he was concerned about his teeth as much as the damage to the wall or what bothered him most, he said, I wasn't so much concerned about his teeth. Quote, as much as my flat-billed, semi-sideways baseball cap, which I wear indoors because I never had a dad. Though he was no stranger to actually losing teeth due to, quote, people always punching me in the face for my flat-billed, semi-sideways baseball cap that I wear indoors because I never had a dad.
It always go back to daddy. This is why fathers matter.
Yes, this is why.
I want to
hashtag-
feel bad for this guy, but I don't.
No, I
I
don't
don't
feel
like
bad for
vapors. They feel like they can do it anywhere. I had person do it in a wine tasting.
I don't really care. If they'd rather vape explosive, they'd better do it. And decrease the surplus vaping population.
I say don't change a thing.
Hey,
Perfect product.
speaking of things that people are going to get mad about, Elon Musk, I know you guys all, he's your darling. He's better known for Tesla, some would say in SpaceX, is now starting a candy company. He tweeted out that he's starting a candy company, and it's going to be amazing. When people thought it was a joke, he later went on to say, quote, super serious. So, this is a topic that's been capturing the public's attention, and we wanted to talk with him about it. I believe we have Elon Musk here. Do we have him? Mr. Musk, thank you for being with us, sir.
Thanks for having me, Stephen.
Absolutely. So, Elon, the first question this begs, candy industry, why?
To disrupt,
would you?
the candy industry is one of the few that has been stagnant for decades. As a matter of fact, in our lifetimes, the candy industry has remained almost completely unchanged, even mirrored by the agriculture and industrial revolutions, let alone digital.
I'm having a little trouble with your accent.
Which is what I plan to disrupt with my new confection, Stephen.
You know, you keep saying that. I'm not entirely sure what that. Wait, what are you
So
doing?
a new soda-powered pop rock. Delicious and renewable.
Yeah, I don't think that's exactly going to catch on, Mr. Elon. I don't think that's going to be a
Which
wild.
will also be complemented by our new wind turbine fields made entirely of gummy.
See, I don't think that your target demographic, namely 6-year-olds, are going to be overly concerned with that, with renewable energy.
Or these ring pops,
Yeah,
which can launch you into space.
that sounds expensive.
Stephen, it
Sounds
will need
very
to be,
expensive.
of course, subsidized.
Well, of course. Mr. Musk, what do you say to critics? This is just a move to distract from the fact that you may be removed as a chairman at Tesla soon, that this
Stephen,
could be a little bit of
people
smoke
who change the world will always have critics. To them, I simply say, come with me,
This is-
and you'll be
This is incredibly
in a
uncomfortable.
world of pure imagination. Take a look and help me with all your subsidization.
Okay, Elon, yeah, I think that's enough with
Steve,
this singing in.
I have a flair for showmanship, but I truly
Yes.
do think we'd have more common ground on this than you would expect.
Okay, all right, I'm willing to listen. How's
If you want me to make paradise, simply open up your wallets. Anything you want to, I'll do it.
Okay.
Want me to change the world? Just a few billion.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I expected. That's enough. Elon Musk,
Steve,
everybody. I don't. Yeah,
think
I
about
don't.
the children.
No, I don't need to think about it.
Candy.
Cut him off. Cut him off. I don't think we need to have Elon Musk on the program.
Try to hang him
anymore.
sooner. I don't.
No,
sorry.
it's a big name though. Big
Ever
name.
notice, by the way, I don't ever see you, Sven, and Elon in the same room.
I don't know.
I don't like it. Hey, Sven, update us. So now we're going to get to the topic of the day, which I know everyone here has strong opinions on.
Of course.
North Korea, Iran, this all went down this week. And then, of course, Angela Merkel entered the fray today. Of
course, Germany.
So it's this amalgamation of foreign policy cluster F, the likes of which we haven't seen. Sven, update us here. What's happened here this last week with North Korea and Iran? Because I know you've got the overlay.
Yeah, well, this last week, what basically happened is that the United States, I shouldn't say we, because I'm
Part of the problem, sir.
Okay, we'll allow it.
that Mike Pompeo got the hostages back.
Yeah.
From North Korea, and as well,
President Trump pulled out of the Iran deal.
Yeah.
Exactly, we pulled out of that deal, and there's a meeting with Kim Jong Un in Singapore, June 12th.
So it was going really well until President Trump said that he treated those three really well. And you're like, damn it.
Exactly.
You had like the epic win, and you had to kind of ruin it a little bit.
But you've got to separate the fact. Yeah, exactly. Take the W and walk. Okay,
Yeah.
President Trump. You've got to separate the fact that he
and Polanyi.
says some dumb things versus our position in the globe right now. And I hear this all the time. People saying like, "Oh, the United States is more respected internationally." I don't really know if that's the case.
No.
And we certainly weren't respected in the sense of being feared or respected by people like Kim Jong-un. Sorry, they're saying we're respected less internationally. They were saying we're respected more internationally with Barack Obama. I want to make sure I get that right.
No.
Because the tweets will come in.
And it was absolutely the opposite. Just being rolled by the rest of the world doesn't mean that you're being respected by them, right? You need somebody
Right.
in the office who can wield the power a little
Well, I
bit.
think they attributed it purely to the fact that he went on a
Apology
years-long
tour?
apology
Yeah.
tour.
Oh, much longer
All the
than that.
nations?
Yeah, much longer
It
than
was,
that.
it was an 8-year apology.
Yeah.
tour.
Well, and he was saying that we want to be like those guys. We don't want to be like those guys. We're better. Sorry.
And then they did a bowing encore.
yeah, exactly.
So, for example, North Korea, Obama tried for years to come up with a way to stop their nuclear program. He failed.
Yeah,
Right? Then he basically handed $1.7 billion to Iran for no apparent reason. The Israeli spies finding out that they continued, surprise, their nuclear program. So Donald Trump pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal. Okay. Which, of course, all the left, they were praising it. They thought that this was a way to try and avoid some kind of a conflict. So when the news broke that President Donald Trump, you can confirm this is authentic, right, Sven Computer?
Yes, this is from Memory TV.
This is an
so it's authentic.
authentic clip. I want to make sure if Sven Computer says it, you know it's true. So when we found out, Iran, that Donald Trump pulled out of the deal, this is how they reacted.
Burning an American flag there, just so you know.
People listening. Death to America. Death to America.
And they're about to get burned, which
Burning
always
the
happens. I love that part.
First off, I couldn't put a character like that in one of our sketches for fear of being protested due to negative stereotypes. Secondly, that is absolutely a fire hazard at bare minimum. Thirdly, that deal was the gateway to peace.
God, there weren't any rabbits lying around.
Just Remember that?
Really got
Lit the
carried away.
country on
That was
fire.
the quote. The gateway to peace.
Gateway to
No.
peace.
The gateway to peace, this deal. Listen, that's how you know they're the Eddie Haskells of the world. They had no intention of ever honoring the deal. They had no intention of ever respecting. They never had respect for the United States or the deal. They were lying to you, taking what they could get. It's not like someone all of a sudden, right, has a flash of genius moment. Like, oh, you know what? I want to work with the New Orleans. It seems like America isn't the burn the flag! Burn the flag! It doesn't happen overnight. You were always a dick.
Look,
Yeah.
not to throw Sven Computer under the bus again, but we made a similar kind of deal prior to World War II with another German.
That's true.
Fascist.
And that stings.
Didn't work.
Sorry, Sven / Musk. Now, President Trump is being blasted, of course, for being crazy and reckless, blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe you need to be a little bit crazy. Maybe you need to be crazier than the other guy in some of these countries. Now, President Trump may not be let's even give the argument to people who say, may not be a great man, may not be a good guy personally. But how in the hell, I've heard people calling him a bully now. How in the hell can you paint a guy as a bully who's pushing around the dictators who starve and torture their citizens and perform forceful abortions? Call him at the very least an anti-hero.
What kind of world do we
You
live in?
lose.
Deadpool was great.
Yes.
Let's see the version with Trump.
You lose the moral high ground when you commit forceful abortions and starve your own people and convince them that you can control their mind, and when you throw gays off rooftops and when you have death for apostasy. You don't get to call somebody else a bully. And this is something that's very new, by the way. For people, they look back and they see I just forgot his name, Gary Oldman's performance. Winston Churchill, first off, was not elected. A big reason, he was a prick. I know there are other geopolitical reasons.
Everyone hated
but
it.
people forget that.
Yeah.
But do you think Churchill was a bully to Hitler? You think he was great Santining, throwing a little Adolf to basketball? Stop! I'm not crying.
I promise I'll clean my yak.
Father, why you come home? You can't stop the drinking. Honestly, it doesn't matter if you're more effective. You cannot be the bully. And this is the problem. The left just hates success. The left hates success. They assume the underdog has the moral high ground. Whether it's Palestine, whether it's look at that voice crack. Palestine. Oh, I want to play with a Charlie in the box. Call yourself Jack, dumbass. We'll talk in another show about the squirt gun and only shot jelly. I can solve that problem for you. Merkel just came out to give you proof. Complained that Germany can't be under the United States umbrella anymore. Oh my God. She said it is no longer such that the United States simply protects us, but Europe must take its destiny in its own hands. That's the task of the future. Now, first off, German leader telling Europe what it should do. I understand that it could throw up some red flags.
Just go with it.
But she's making her point
Almost like there's a
for
history.
us. When people talk about President Donald Trump as a bully, and we're talking about the United States, guess what? There is no Germany-Iran deal. There is no Ireland-Iran deal. We are the only country that people are talking about when they're talking about the Iran deal. Why? Because we keep the free world safe, and we keep the rest of the world in check. We only care what Donald Trump has to say about North Korea. No one gives a rat's ass what Angela Merkel has to say about North Korea. So you know what? I'm tired of caring what anyone else thinks about how we handle Kim Jong-un. The only person who could possibly be intimidated by Kim Jong-un would maybe Justin Trudeau. If you were to take the average, just the national average male, line up 100, none of them would be intimidated by Kim Jong-un.
Oh.
Trudeau is a miracle. But this is, we keep the free. When you want to know, countries have been defying the 2% NATO minimum for years. They've been ignoring it. The U.S. picks up the slack. They pay the bill for national defense. We've been paying for all these countries, and this is what bothers me. When you're looking at the Iran deal in North Korea, 3 hostages gone. Look at Iran burning the American flag. And then next week, when we forget about this, Germany's going to talk about how they provide free health care, refugee asylum, and free college. Oh yeah, what's your Navy? It's a tugboat with an Uzi replica. We're hoping for a Boston Whaler. We're hoping for a Boston Whaler. Thank you. You're welcome, Germany. And by the way, you were making this point in the pitch meeting.
Yes, beep, beep. But what you have to understand is that what we are to you is France to us, beep, beep. That's
Yes,
what they are.
exactly. Or France to anyone, not or Greece to anyone.
That's
Greece
true.
to
anyone.
Yeah, just about anyone these days.
That's what would happen. You know what? You would be France globally, or like Greece, only with national defense, as you are economically to France, Germany.
Yeah.
Think of that national security. That's you to us.
Yeah.
It's the same situation, yeah. Beep, beep.
Yeah.
Look, I'm getting a little tired of providing peace for the rest of the world and then being vilified for it.
Exactly.
Right? And then paying for it as well.
How many
and then
countries
sending
is it
troops
now?
as well.
What's Japan? Don't we provide like all the defense for Japan?
We provide all the defense for
Basically
Canada.
everybody.
I mean, there was a study Sven was talking about that Russia could take over a significant swath.
Yeah, I think it was a 2016 study that was conducted by NATO, and it came out that they would need 60 hours to take the Balticum, so...
giant swaths.
That's like an extended weekend.
60 hours. By the way, would take significantly less time for the United States to take Canada.
Yeah.
80% of their population with 100 miles of the U.S. border. They have 10% of the population of the United States. You know, we would just walk up to that border and say, I mean, do you really want to do this? No, just come on in.
Come on,
Just
yeah.
on.
Do you have Trudeau?
Know where the fridge is at.
America's an imperial. Really?
yourself.
You know what? I'm okay with a little imperialism now.
Yeah.
How about either we be an imperialist nation, or no, just have nothing to do. We don't protect any other countries at that point. By the way, people say, well, isn't that a bit reductive? What's wrong? We had this with Naomi Wolf.
Yeah.
What's wrong with being reductive when we're dealing with people, when we're dealing with countries who, without nuclear weapons, commit gross violations of human rights, killing Christians, Jews? Where's the middle ground? What's wrong with being reductive, saying they shouldn't be allowed to have nukes, and we won't do... I'm not okay with these countries having non-safety scissors.
Much less any red buttons.
No. Israel shot down Iran's missiles. No casualties. Everyone gets mad at them. It's proof the left just absolutely despises success. Because they truly believe that if you are an underdog, you automatically have the moral high ground. How in the world could you be upset otherwise? We're not bombing Iran. We're just not doing business with them. Well, that would be
evil.
That would be like evil. That would be like getting mad that you showed up for a Tupperware party. You find out that the lady is a Nazi who just gassed a bunch of Jews and threw some gays off a rooftop and said, "You know what? I'm not buying a 3-piece set." And everyone going, "You're a dick." We're just not gonna do business.
What Tupperware parties are you going to?
We're just gonna put them in the corner. I am so tired of this. I mean, it is constant. It's constant. Iran was a moderate Muslim country in the 70s. Then remember we had Turkey. We had Egypt. Yeah, that worked out like a charm. Then it was Morocco. Until all of a sudden their Olympians refused to shake hands with the Jews, right, at the Olympics. And then we had Indonesia, Malaysia, record church burnings.
Bye.
We're not bombing them. We're just saying we're not going to do business with you. Think about Israel. We talk about this with Israel. The left gets so furious at Israel when you talk about how it really effectively has the current map that it has today. People say, look at all the land they gained. Syria, Egypt, Jordan said, let's wipe off Jews from the face of the map.
Exactly.
I am absolutely amazed. To me, okay, you don't need to be an imperialist nation, right? Just going out taking over stuff because it's 2018. But certainly in a defensive war, people want to wipe you out and you win. You take their stuff and you move on down the trail. North Korea, you should be grateful that we aren't simply calling you the 51st state. Iran, what are you going to do? What are you going to do if we decide that we don't want you anymore? You know what? I'm okay with it. I'm at that point where if I read tomorrow, like, oh, the United States just dropped a mushroom cloud over Iran, but you know what? That's fine. 70% of them.
Big old parking lot.
70% of them are okay with death for apostasy. It's like, yeah, but what about the 30%? They shouldn't have let it get to 70. They shouldn't have let it get to 70. You let it get to a majority or even a plurality. Guess what? You don't get to sit at the adults' table. You have to go sit at the kids' table. Doesn't mean we're going to kill all of you, but we're certainly not going to do commerce with you or treat you as equals or try and appease you for peace. You burning the flag. I can't. Burning the American flag, anti-freedom, anti-anything that isn't your sick, twisted, demented Muslim way of life. Pieces of shit. We'll have Ben Shapiro after this.
So I bet when time now you best her when the dance time to deliver the cookies. Get back, we had advance time. Does it hit the? There we go. Keep clinking. Are you got it?
I'm back in the pennies again. Good for the sunshine or rain. When duty calls, they'll be swaddled in my balls. Back in the pennies again. Right in the pennies once more. Some call me a queer comfort whore, where the quality's pure light and the price is just right. Back in the pennies again. Ranger panties available at louderwithcrowdershop.com. Get yours today. It's like teabagging an angel.
And now listen to this.
I'm just doing this because I know it'll anger him more right before coming to the break. I don't want to be here. I hate you. So Angry Ben is always a fun Ben. Glad to have our first guest. You know him, of course, host of the Ben Shapiro Show on the Daily Wire, now nationally syndicated. You can follow him at Ben Shapiro, so we can take it out on you and not just me. Ben, why are you such an angry Jew today?
God dang it, who booked this? Why am I even here? Oh, God, not Crowder. This day's long enough.
What's so rough with your day? You look like you've done a lot of Percocet. Like there's a glass in your eye.
Yeah, it's been a long day, man. It's been a long day. I can't even talk about some of this stuff on the air. I mean, I killed a guy. That was probably the thing I probably shouldn't have said on the air.
Yeah, for a smart guy, you let that one slip pretty quickly. You're getting loose.
Your fiddle won't keep its polish.
This is why my lawyer says I shouldn't talk to the cops, but
yes, exactly.
And now that it's already out there. Like President Trump, I will go talk to Robert Mueller just as much as I please.
Well, okay.
Thank you very much.
So is it just personal stuff, or is it stuff that's going on in the news that has you so pissed off?
Oh no, it's, the news is fine. I mean, honestly, like the news is better than fine. I like President Trump is doing excellent things on the foreign policy front, which is great. He has this interesting view of the world, President Trump, where everybody is a winner or a loser.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work well in economics because there can be mutual winners when you and I are trading products and services. Mm-hmm. But it does work really well on foreign policy, it turns out, because it turns out that if Iran loses, everybody wins.
Yes.
And so that's been really good. Like,
I just got done saying it right before this. What's wrong with being? I said people will often say, "Well, that's reductive." What's wrong with being reductive with a nation that commits gross violations of human rights when they don't have a nuclear arsenal? There is no middle ground.
Again, this is the part that's hilarious to me, is everybody's like, well, you know, that Iran nuclear deal was preventing them from getting a nuclear weapon, and those moderates, they were really being emboldened by the nuclear deal. It's like, well, you know what? If they want to be moderate, you know what they could do? They could just give up their nuclear weapons, like without a deal.
Yes, exactly.
They could just stop funding terrorism. In fact, I did an entire piece on this yesterday at my website, Daily Wire, where we talked specifically about the. I'm sorry about that, but you know, just because we're wildly more successful than anything else out there.
This is absolutely true. There's no doubt about it because you employ slave labor. It's amazing what you can do with children at computers in Bangladesh. Continue.
Well, I mean, you're wondering why I had a bad day. Our contract just got tossed in the garbage. But in any case, but one of the things I was saying is that there are only a couple of nations in human history that have had nuclear weapons or were developing nuclear weapons and gave them up. One was in 1993, South Africa gave up their nukes, and the other was in 2003, Gaddafi gave up his incipient nuclear program. Both of them did so as a show of good faith to the world. It wasn't that we came along and said, here's a bunch of money, now will you give up their nukes? Because that would be stupid. Then they would just say, well, I'll keep the money and develop my nukes.
Right.
Instead, it was a bunch of regimes attempting to moderate themselves first, and then as a symptom of that moderation, they were saying, here's our nukes. So trying to say that Iran was going to moderate because we gave them a bunch of cash is stupid. If they wanted to moderate and have a bunch of cash, they could do so without any agreement at all.
Right. Well, it's a comparison would be a plea bargain, if you're talking about South Africa, if you're talking about Gaddafi, versus sort of Kramer versus Kramer, Dustin Hoffman with the kid in the ice cream tub, just saying, don't you do it. Don't you do it. That's the big difference. There is a big difference. One occurred before and one occurred after. And here's the thing, like I just talked about, we're not nuking them. We're not bombing them. We're just not going to do business with them. We're just going to isolate them. I mean, even liberal parents just make their kid have a timeout or put them in the corner. We're not even spanking them.
Right, and let's be real about this. It is providing Israel the option to spank them, which I think is a good option. It's providing this newfound alliance of Israel, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, UAE, the capacity to actually fight back against Iranian aggression. Because what the Iran deal really did mostly was it said to any of those nations, if you do anything against Iran, you're in breach of this agreement. You've destroyed world peace. By Trump saying, listen, this agreement's no longer here, then it becomes very clear who are the violators of the peace in the Middle East. And that was obvious for anybody who had half a brain anyway, since Iran has taken over Syria. They've now taken over Lebanon. They've taken over most of Iraq. They've taken over Yemen. They've taken over the Gaza Strip, too, I mean, for the amount of funding they're giving to Hamas.
Right.
Like, what exactly, like, why was this controversial in the first place? I will say, to Obama's credit, it was Barack Obama who created the alliance of Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, Israel, and the UAE. He did so completely unintentionally, just like every other good thing he did unintentionally. But this was mostly Obama's doing, because by kissing Iran's ass, he put everybody else in a position where they had to suddenly ally with each other in order to face down Iran.
Yeah, but you know that's very temporary. And if we look back and something happens, no one's going to blame the alliance that you just mentioned. They're just going to blame the Jews.
Yep.
That's what happens historically.
That's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
You're wondering why I'm having a bad day. Every day is a blame the Jew day. That's just the way it goes around
exactly.
here.
We were just talking about that when you're talking about obviously the listen, Israel, gave up land in defensive war. This is where people talk about it like, oh, you're paid. I'm not paid by the Jews. I would take the money and I would talk about big Jew money. But when you talk about Syria, Jordan, Egypt, and they said, we're going to wipe them off for being Jews, I'm amazed he didn't just take all their stuff. But my point is, in the realm of history, they'll look back and listen, let's be honest. Do we really think that Saudi Arabia and Israel are going to be allies for a long time? No. I think Jews could be left holding the bag long term, which is always what worries me with these temporary alliances. They never last with Islamic countries.
I mean, I think that's true, but I also think that this is the best position Israel has been in its entire history, insofar as there are now a bunch of states that are suddenly saying, you're our allies, you're not our enemies. I mean, the Saudi Arabian leader, Mohammed bin Sultan, literally said to the Palestinian leadership, take the deal that's on the table or sit down and shut up. I mean, that's an amazing, amazing thing. Yeah. And it also demonstrates, by the way, how a lot of these countries were using the Palestinians as pawns for so long. Because they obviously don't care about they don't care about this stuff enough to actually abide by their previous principles. It was always a ruse. It was always, we're going to use this as a club against the Jews. Well, now it turns out we need to use the Jews as a club against the Iranians. So that goes immediately by the wayside.
Well, that's my point. Pragmatically, they're in the best place that they've been in a while. But doesn't it make you a little bit leery just to trust someone with the name Muhammad?
Well, no, not necessarily. No.
He's not being honest. This is because he's angry.
No.
Yes, absolutely. How many Jewish Israelis are named Muhammad? Probably not many.
That's a weird question. I'm sure not a lot of Jewish Israelis named Jesus either.
This is true. No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying they're in a good place right now. I'm always worried because that's very temperamental.
But for the Jews, now is good.
Yes.
Okay. If we could take now, if we could have just taken now, like throughout human history, that would have been fine.
Yes.
Because it turns out that now was usually us getting killed. So as long as we're not being killed, and there are a bunch of temporary alliances, turns out better than no alliances at all.
Exactly.
Friends, better than people attempting to kill you. So I'll take it, Fine
it's not exactly next stop vodka stands across the Middle East, but, you'll take it. You take the W at this point. That's today's lesson. Take the W when you can take it. It's funny that you mentioned this, good versus bad and kind of on the world stage. That being said, on economics, let's kind of get rid of the tariffs and stuff, which we agree on. The tax cut, though, is remarkably popular. So when you combine that with foreign policy, and Iran just did us a favor by burning the American flag in their government there after the deal was ripped up. It's like, oh, okay, maybe you were Eddie Haskelling it, and this wasn't exactly the portal to peace. Do you think this spells potentially re-election for Donald Trump? Tax cuts popular?
Well, I mean,
foreign policy.
If it were just policy, then the answer would be clearly yes, right? I mean, 57% of Americans now say that the country is moving in the right direction. It's almost impossible to see a situation where somebody does not win re-election under those circumstances. The economy continues to boom. The tax cuts are very popular. The regulatory cuts are having a solid impact on businesses. He's seeing success in his North Korean negotiations so far. He's seeing his success in creating this Saudi, Egyptian, Israeli, Jordanian alliance. All of this stuff is really, really good. Okay, and so on policy, it's very hard to argue with the results that President Trump's administration has been getting. The real question is going to be, every election is between two people, and unfortunately, Donald Trump still is the guy, right? And so the question is going to be, when it comes to 2020, and you see a lot of Donald Trump being Donald Trump, are people inured to it, which could actually help him, or are people going to be, shocked all anew when it turns out that there's somebody on the other side who is not the worst candidate in American history? I think that there's a solid chance Democrats will pick somebody garbagey for 2020 because there are just so many candidates.
That was going to be my follow-up question. Who do you think is the likely picker if you narrow it down to a field of 3 to 5?
If you were to say 3 to 5, I would probably say Kamala Harris for the intersectionality of it all. Joe Biden for the Obama and the stasis and back to normalcy kind of campaign, and maybe Elizabeth Warren from the Bernie wing, unless Bernie runs again, which you could. I mean, at this point, there are no upper age limits to presidency of the United States. I mean, the skeletons from Holy Grail are actually filings for super PAC approval at this point.
Yes. I love how Matt Damon is no longer bitching about the actuary tables if Bernie Sanders is going to run again. All of a sudden, it's all quiet on the Damon front. Okay, well, we have an unbelievable show. Of course, we just had Elon Musk, we have Ryan Bader, we have Blaire White, we have Owen Benjamin. Let me ask this. You just mentioned North Korea. That's also a big plus this week. Like I said, big stress. A little disappointed when President Trump afterwards said, hey, he was great to these 3 people. It's like, oh, just take the ball and leave. But it is a victory. Listen, I mean, it seems like right now.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no question that's a victory. It is to the point where Trump says that sort of stuff where, our capacity for outrage is now gone. Because, okay, so Trump said something real dumb. Shocker. Wow. He said they were treated real nice by North Korea. That's because he says that kind of stuff. I'm sure that everything is magnificent, everything is the best, everything is really nice. Okay, we get it. But here's the bottom line. Those 3 guys are standing on the tarmac with Trump, And Trump made that happen, and Obama did not make that happen. So that is a point in Trump's favor. Now, the real question is going to be what happens in June, right? So there are a couple of possibilities with what's going to happen in June. Is this going to be a situation where Trump kind of bends over backward because he feels like he's been given some goodies by the North Koreans? Or is this a situation where they're looking to come to the table not because they love President Trump or are scared by President Trump, but because their nuclear mountain just imploded in North Korea? Right. The fact is that they had a testing site, and that site completely degraded. It completely fell apart. And immediately they started talking with the South Koreans. So it's quite possible that Trump could have just become like the luckiest president ever. Right? That suddenly their nuclear program just unilaterally combusted. It just randomly exploded. And Trump's like, wow, look what I did.
Yes.
And that's fine with me. I mean, sure, good.
He's like a Chauncey Gardner who just walked into the right place at the right time, and North Korea's Dom DeLuise just running through as the set from Blazing Saddles comes down like, oh, damn. Yeah, we'll talk now. Which is why it's so remarkable to me that Justin Trudeau got stared down by this guy. That you could take a sample size of any country. You know what? I'll even throw Saudi Arabia into the mix, and you would not find a man intimidated by Kim Jong-un. Justin Trudeau is a marvel because he, for some reason, played ball.
That dude is intimidated by like a table, like a butter knife. I mean, like really, Justin Trudeau has about as much intimidation factor as like Lena Dunham clothed. Like there's not a lot of intimidation factor there.
Let me ask you this, because I know you're not a big fan of Trump personality-wise, but you have to be on a deserted island, okay? President Donald Trump or Prime Minister Justin Trudeau?
On a desert island?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so.
You thought you were having a rough day.
The only reason I'd take Trudeau is because you could take all of his stuff and leave him to die. And nothing about it, right?
Make him your coconut bitch.
Right, exactly. Like if it's just the two of us and it's up to survival, like I feel like Trump's big, but he's I think a scrappy fighter. So and he's got about 100 pounds on me and a lot of interior rage. So
yes,
I doubt my own capacity against President Trump stuck on a desert island. Do not get between that man and what he wants. Justin Trudeau, however, as you just say, was stared down by Kim Jong-un. So I feel I have a slightly better shot with like I could appeal to his feminine side or some such.
Yes, exactly. Or you could challenge him to a pull-up contest, and then when he loses, just force him to be your indentured servant.
I know he's ripped. I mean, he's one of these guys.
He's skinny fat. He has the body of a pregnant woman without the bump. It is absolutely a shame.
I forgot I was talking to Mr. Atlas over here, Stephen Crowder.
Yes, Charles Atlas. That's because someone kicked sand in my face, and then I did the isometrics that I bought in the back of a comic book. But you're a pull-up machine, a CrossFit pull-up machine, right? Didn't you say you could do something like
That's exactly
30,
right.
40?
And I don't bench, just CrossFit. Yeah,
30, 40
pull-ups. I can knock out about 40 pull-ups in a row.
Kip-ups, but that's still impressive. That's still very impressive.
How dare you, sir?
It's a different dynamic, but listen, it is absolutely very impressive, and I just always throw it out there because a lot of people don't know that about you. All right, people can of course watch the Ben Shapiro Show at the Daily Wire. It won't show through your suit, Ben. For a smart guy, you make some bad choices.
It's unverifiable, my friend. Why do you think I hadn't thought that through?
Yes. How many markets are you syndicated to now? On radio?
So the podcast is now syndicated to, I believe, 40 plus markets, and we are in 5 or 6 of the top 10. So that's really exciting.
Absolutely, it's fantastic, and he's part of the Westwood One podcast network, which our free show on Thursdays. We're with them now too. So see some new sponsors pretty soon. Mr. Ben Shapiro at Ben Shapiro. Thanks so much for being here. I'm sorry you were having a bad day. Hopefully, we made it a little bit worse.
Oh, you made me feel so much better, Stephen. Who booked this thing?
Yes, Blaire White. After this.
It's about that time on the show where Human Boy should do the live read from our club. But he's too lazy. I bet you he's just gonna exploit old Hopper. A lot of withcrowder.com/my club. It's only $99 for people, or $69 for students, veterans, or active military. And I bet you if they knew that it's used to fix my leg and buy me all the cheeses, that they wouldn't have any problem joining. But maybe some people know and they don't care. I'm so tired of people who don't care and don't join at louderwithcrowder.com/my club. I'm so tired. What, squirrel? Oh, shit.
Thank you, Mr. Shapiro. Always glad to have our next guest. I don't know that we've spoken since well, you can follow on the Twitter at Miss Blaire White, MS Blaire White. She doesn't have MS, Miss Blaire White.
Yes.
I know sometimes people get that wrong. And of course, Miss Blaire White on the Instagram. Blaire, have you been on the show since we were last on Rogan, kind of talking about you and my mom and all that?
I don't think so. I think the last time I saw you was the Christmas special, and then we were going to do something else for the Oscars, but my scheduling was messed up. But it's been a minute, yeah.
Yes, this is true. Yes, we were talking about how my mother was not super familiar with the transgender community, and with the language barrier, she was incredibly confused.
Really?
She's a sweetheart, but she was miscommunications abound, and
I would have never known. She was so nice.
she is an absolute sweetheart. Now, Blaire, we don't have a ton of time because we got Elon Musk and we got Ryan Bader and we have such a big show today. But I do know this. I was actually just following this recently, and it was what brought you to mind. So DragCon is a thing. And it's like it's sort of like Comic-Con for, I don't know if the term drag queen is derogatory, but I know you're not going to care so much because they've all threatened to kill you if you attend. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, so it's RuPaul's DragCon. It's here in LA, and it's kind of like a big LGBT convention based on the show RuPaul's Drag Race, and kind of everyone in LA goes.
Yeah.
And they invited me to go and wanted to give me like a talent pass, VIP, to do the red carpet and all that stuff. And people have absolutely like lost their minds. I've gotten so many threats of violence, of worse than violence. It's just insane.
Because RuPaul got in trouble, remember, for using the word tranny. This is RuPaul.
Yeah, RuPaul is attacked all the time too, because RuPaul isn't. Most drag queens actually aren't very politically correct because,
sure,
they're messes. They're in costume, right? So yeah, he gets attacked all the time too.
Yes, I wonder why you might not curry their favor. So what's this? You're still going?
Oh hell yeah, I'm going. I have friends flying in town that are coming with me. I'm gonna have security and stuff. I really don't care. I feel like it comes with the territory of what I do at this point to get threats like that.
Yeah.
And I tend to stand on principle. I'm just gonna go. I really don't care.
Let me ask you this, because we've talked about this before. There's for people who don't know, there's obviously transvestites, drag queens, and there's transsexuals, and then there's transgender. And some people like yourself, transgenders, have gone through multiple procedures, and some people are basically just drag queens who call themselves transgender. So how do we at Drag Con? Is this mostly just men who dress up like women, or has it become a hotbed for the transgender community as well?
Honey, every hot mess tranny in LA goes to it as well. It's just like a big LGBT thing. It's based around drag queens, which are just performers, but everyone on the spectrum goes to this thing. So it'll be interesting. It's not really my genre. People aren't going to be super friendly to me there, but
are most drag queens are they gay? Are they interested? What is the deal?
What's the way to
yeah, they're usually just gay men. There are some. I went to a show one time and there was a female drag queen, just a biological woman, just dressed up, kind of extra. And she was nuts. She was like, yeah.
Some extra red tape and some hair dye. I mean, what do you do?
Yes, everything's so arbitrary. I feel like none of it makes sense anymore. And
felt like
the biological female drag queens though are usually messes. Like they're really untalented. Just I don't really like them.
Okay, this begs the question. I don't mean to be an ass here. What would be considered talent, like for a drag queen? Like, are we talking like fire breathing drag queens? Are they doing magic tricks? I mean, the only drag queen I ever saw.
There are really some crazy ones. I've seen some be on like stilts coming out, like 10 feet tall. There's probably fire breathing ones. I don't know. Usually the talent is limited, but there's those small occasions where it's like, oh, they're doing something.
Depends on the question. Which came first? The stilt walking, like, how can I take this to the next level? Let's throw some kids on, or was it like?
I don't know. It's a very, but I feel like this has brought people like you and myself closer together because I was confused, and then at one point, like transgenders were like, "Well, you shouldn't be so confused," and I was like, "Well, hold on a second, no, look at the rule book. I'm a little more confused," and now I have more people going, "I'm confused too," because I don't. Listen, it always begs some questions. The only drag queen I ever met, you remember this? Mm-hmm. Was that my wife had the bright idea at a Valentine's Day to go to a burlesque show. And there was one very large, like, Samoan drag queen. And,
you told me this.
And he just walked out and beelined for me like a laser beam. And I was looking, and I was like, no, just move along down the trail. Now, this guy had no talent. This guy just put on some tassels and walked over and was like the Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs. And he was doing this right by my table. And I was like, listen, you're going to do some stand-up? You're going to do some improv? The guy did
And
nothing.
unlike the chicks there, he would have had to get pretty darn close to even get some contact.
Yes, but he got got the biggest cheers.
Some of the chicks there would have had to get pretty close too.
Yeah.
Not a lot of...
It was a shallow talent pool,
was.
Blaire. This is the main point.
Very much. I like when they're at least a little funny, you know?
No, this guy didn't sing. I think he mouthed words to a song, and that was it. And got all these cheers. I'm like, well, you're cheering for nothing. He's done nothing. You've also gotten death threats from vegans and vegetarians, which I have as well, because I had Blaire Keith on, because you're no longer a vegan. So you're getting it from all sides, Blaire.
Getting it from every end, very much that. Yeah, so I made a video about how I stopped being vegan. I was vegan for about 10 years. And I feel like being vegan is probably like good for like a 2-week cleanse cycle, but once you hit that like decade mark, I think things start declining. And my health took a definite dip. I was deficient in so many things, and I said, okay, screw it, I'm done doing this. At that point, it was just habit anyways. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna change my diet. Made a video about it, and I feel like I was very polite.
Yeah.
Usually I'm not, but I was in that
You're
video.
not
I felt
always.
like I was very nice. And there was just dozens and dozens and dozens of response videos of people just losing their minds over it.
Okay, so what's your status now with the vegans? Who are you more afraid of? Is it an angry drag queen / vegan chain gang? Is it an alliance?
At this point, let's see. Every group that hates me, vegans, drag queens, trans people, Black Lives Matter, Islam. Pretty much, that one has to be quiet because they could hear. You know, I just did a debate for the New York Post with a Muslim girl, and I was a little shook.
Yeah.
That'll be out soon. Yeah, honestly, as far as I'm concerned, all the right groups hate me.
Yes.
The Muslims you gotta look out for, but I mean the vegans, they don't have the energy to carry out anything.
No, they don't have the focal endurance.
Yes.
Yeah.
They can type, but they can't chase you.
Right, exactly. Well, you know, that's actually a good. You would probably be much more on top of your health because you see doctors regularly. Obviously, with your, when you're doing hormones, anything like that. Any men who are doing aging men who go through the hormone replacement therapy. These are people who would be more on top of this than people who just release some YouTube videos. And what bothers me, listen, people can be healthy and be vegans, but there is a lot of bad health advice coming from the vegan community, and it's dogmatic. And yeah, we had Blaire Keith on, who was a former vegan. Remember on the show, we got so many death threats. I felt bad for Blaire, who was a liberal on the show but she became more conservative because of all the death threats she got from the angry vegans. So
that'll do it. I mean, it is crazy how everyone suddenly becomes a doctor, a nutritionist, when in reality, the reason I stopped being vegan was because I went to a doctor.
Right.
You know, everyone thinks they're an expert on it, and it really is like a religion.
Yeah. Well, I stopped doing green smoothies because I went to a doctor. My, my thyroid got really, because if you do a lot of raw greens, particularly if you have a thyroid issue, the oxalates in the greens, it's actually really rough on your thyroid. So my doctor just said, he's like, listen, and he's super, and I also go to a place that's just preventative care where these doctors, they do a scan every year to check you for cancer, check your overall health. I highly recommend everybody do that to some degree. And they just said, listen, the truth is, cook your vegetables. Like the perfect thing would be to have your meat, whatever your complex carbohydrate is, in a limited amount. And if you could steam your vegetables, that's great. But raw vegetables, we know some people don't react to them well. That's all. And the problem was fixed. My blood work got better. Final question. Boy Scout issue. Have you been following that this week? What do you think about girls in the Boy Scouts?
Oh my God. It was, so what they did was they changed the name of the Boy Scouts to, what was it? Scouts BSA or something?
Yeah.
Was that it?
BS something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the opinion, there have been many, many studies to corroborate it, that young boys and girls do quite well developmentally when they are, involved in activities with just their gender. So
right.
It's really not something that I'm for. Did the Girl Scouts change their names too, or is
no?
there
The Girl Scouts aren't happy about it.
The
Girl Scouts aren't happy about it. And let me ask you this, because I think transgenders are allowed in the either the Boy Scouts, or the Girl Scouts, or both. As a transgender person, but you obviously have strong opinions on transitioning children. What's your opinion on Girl Scouts? They're being like, well, listen, we want a girl-only space. Period. It seems to me like that's a reasonable request because boys are gross.
It is reasonable. And boys are gross. It's such a conundrum because obviously one of the things I've been very outspoken about is that I'm against children transitioning.
Yeah.
The fact that I'm against it doesn't change the fact that they're there. And so it makes you sad that young kids can't participate in stuff. But at the same time, I think when you're at that young age, I think it is better just to stick with the biological sex. And like, if you've been transitioning since you were like 6, I disagree with that so heavily. By the time you're 13, if you want to join some kind of thing, maybe never developed puberty of your biological sex, but
well, that doesn't
if you're that
happen
young,
even if you're not transgender. If you're in the Boy Scouts, when you're 13, it halts puberty. It's effectively an alternative to puberty blockers. When you're close, when you're only a couple years away from the draft age, listen, whittling in the woods with a gimp bracelet, that's not quite cutting it. Okay, it is MS Blaire White, Miss Blaire White. Want to make sure people get that right. Also, with DragCon. Keep us updated. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye, guys.
Okay, we'll have Ryan Bader after this. Ooh, fighting.
Welcome to Wild at Large on the Nature Network, narrated by Jasper Prunk. Oh, the male silverback gorilla. A pure picture of power, speed, and a package of elegance. You know what? I swear, that gorilla reminds me of my old college roommate. It's uncanny.
Damn it, Jasper, just do the lines.
No, really. It'd be great if we could do like a side-by-side and just bring in...
Don't say it.
Don't say what?
The name of your roommate. Just drop it, move on. Come on.
No, it's nothing bad. He was a great roommate, and he was built like a brick outhouse. It's just the resemblance here is striking between this gorilla and...
Don't.
Now, don't what?
Don't say the name. Jasper?
My roommate, Tyrone. Stay tuned for more Wild at Large on the Nature Network, narrated by Jasper Prunk.
All right, just want to show that I have some moves so the next guy doesn't kick my ass. I always get a little bit nervous when we have guests who obviously we have a lot of MMA fighters on the show, but they're friends of the show.
It's true.
Leaning more politically, you never know if they're comfortable, but he has a Black Rifle Coffee shirt, so I don't think he's going to be that offended at the kind of content on this show. I have followed him for a while. You can follow him on the Instagram and the Twitter at Ryan Bader. Mr. Bader, thank you for being here, sir.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I'm super glad to have you. Look at this. Now, are you just standing there to make your arm look bigger than is that?
Yeah, just kind of get a little gun show over here.
Yes, exactly. Well, for people who don't know, you are fighting Saturday the 12th in San Jose against King Mo. There's a Bellator tournament. People who follow the show should know for the heavyweight champion of Bellator. There's Fedor. We've had Matt Mitrione on. We've had Chael on, and you're fighting King Mo. How do you feel being in this tournament? You fought at light heavyweight for a long time.
I did. Self-proclaimed king. I'm fighting Muhammad the Wall.
Yes.
I'm a light heavyweight champ. I defended it. So I felt like I did feel like I needed to defend that belt before moving into the heavyweight division.
Yeah.
So I did that. And I was told, hey, you can keep your light heavyweight belt, but would you be interested in doing a heavyweight tournament, Grand Prix style tournament, without knowing any of the guys? Well, if it was one night, if it was overtime, and we said, yes, let's do it. I wanted to fight heavyweight. I want to, try to be a 2-division champion. That's not done a lot in mixed martial arts. And so for me, it was a no-brainer.
It's done even less at the higher weight classes. A difference between 155 and 170, is very, very different from 205 to 265. But yeah, any night, and you didn't even know the person, I would have been like, I have a bronchial infection. I don't know. Can we do modified rules? What are you walking around at now, Ryan?
I'm about 230 right now, and so I don't have to cut weight this week, which is a big plus for me. It pulls that stress of me doing an interview with you right now. I would be thinking about I need to cut 15 pounds out of my body by tomorrow morning, right?
Yes.
And I'm excited to see how I feel without having to take that out. It's got to do something to your performance, right? And so, I'm fighting Mo. He's probably the smallest guy I've ever fought, But in this tournament, I go out there and win. I'm fighting Matt Mitrione, who I know he's a friend of mine. He's a friend of yours, and He's a big dude. That's why I'm jumping into the heavyweight tournament.
Yes, exactly. Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
King, self-professed king.
Yeah.
And then we have Matt Mitrione. I remember King Mo got in trouble for having an oxygen inhaler in his corner one time, which I just thought was so funny. It was like, of all the performance-enhancing drugs, he got popped was taking an oxygen inhaler, which they found out later I don't even think works. But I'm glad to hear that you think your performance will be better. Not so sure after appearing on this show. This sucks your soul right out of you. So I'm sorry, it's louder with crowd.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Actually, I think we're a good luck charm. I think everyone who has appeared on the show has won their fight afterward.
Chael is one.
I'll take that.
One.
Chael won. He beat Vanderlei. I don't remember Jake Shields' next fight.
Who's the guy from Brooklyn? Who am I thinking of?
Who from Brooklyn?
Yeah.
I have no idea who you're talking about. George St. Pierre beat Michael Bisping. So you know what? You're welcome,
Hey, I'll
Ryan.
take it.
Yeah,
I'll take the luck.
I'll keep a nice shelf here for the belt. You and King Mo have a history going back into college, right?
Yeah, he's older than me, about 3 or 4 years older than me. I was a freshman at Arizona State University. I went out there and, my cornermen were Aaron Simpson, who fought in UFC, another guy named Eric Larkin, that it's a big time national champion wrestler.
Sure.
They knew who I was facing. I didn't really know. I walked out there and this dude jumped, and he literally jumped over my head. And I turn around and look at my cornermen, and they're just cracking up laughing, And then I went out there, and he proceeded to tech me, which means he beat me by 15 points or more. Basically, the worst thing that can happen in the
It sounds pretty rough.
Yeah, it's terrible. And so now, the 17, 18 years later, I'm still competing. He's still competing. And I get to get that back. I get to go out there and redeem myself. And I've done that a few times. I wrestled Phil Davis in college. He ended up beating me a close match, and then I ended up beating him in 2 mixed martial arts fights. So I think this is the ultimate competition.
Right. Well, I mean, you're a lot bigger than him now, so it's like you're a late bloomer. Only you're an angry late bloomer. I have a question for you, and I don't want this to be a sore spot, but obviously it's in the news everywhere. You fought John Jones, and he won that encounter. I figured your segue because you lost to King Mo. I figured this was a perfect time to enter with something else that I'm sure will anger you. And now they seem to be throwing the book at him. The guy's popped hot now so many times. Do you think that changes his legacy? What's your opinion on that, having fought John Jones? Because it's not a one-time offense. I mean, this is a guy who can't get his act together.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's probably one of the best fighters of all time.
Yes.
With physical specimen, his talent is off the charts. And he's never lost a fight. Technically, he got DQ'd one fight, but he's never actually lost a fight. Yeah, I do think it's going to tarnish his legacy. It wasn't a one-time thing. It's been multiple things. And plus he's been out for a while, and, that allowed a guy like Cormier to come in and take over a spot basically. Yeah. And Cormier is a good guy now, and,
yes.
So that definitely tarnished your legacy for sure. If there's a one-time mistake, everybody makes mistakes. You chalk it up. All right, hey guys, I'm sorry. But then you come back and something else happens.
Yeah.
It gets to the point with the latest thing, it's almost like you can't be.
Let's be clear.
Again, right?
Yes. The first act was hitting a pregnant lady while high and then running. And then several tests positive afterward. And these positive tests came after being a motivational speaker to kids. Like, I cleaned up my life. But you pop hot 3 times from now.
Weed for reparations.
You see this a lot though, Ryan. And we've had fighters in this show talk about it. Where the defense too from a lot of these guys. I don't know that John has said it says. Well, the majority of athletes are on this, and so it really doesn't affect the legacy. In contrast to people like George St. Pierre who never tested positive. What would you say to those people? Is that true? Do you think a majority or plurality of people are using something, or do you think we're at the point where it doesn't really matter? The playing field is evened.
Especially in the UFC, you've seen performance, you've seen bodies change.
Yes, you have.
It's crazy. You have one guy that's totally ripped out weigh-ins. He's an animal. And I've fought these guys too. And then you get in the cage with them when USADA came, and it's been a year maybe, and they're not taking their stuff. And maybe it's not really doing anything physically to them, but mentally up here, they're not on it anymore. And so, for me, I remember one fight in particular. I was going out there. The guy, popped before. And got caught and whatnot. And I remember going in there and just breaking him, and like he didn't have any spirit. The fight left, And so
this is after the testing, you mean?
Yeah, after the testing started. So in UFC with the USADA testing, I do believe it's cut down tremendously.
Yes.
But in the early days, I
Oh,
bet
come
you,
on. Yeah, look at in the early. I mean, listen, I don't want to name names, but Vitor Belfort was fighting at heavyweight. Now he can barely tip the middleweight scale. The guy was walking at 220 with like there were veins in his nipples, for crying out loud. So it really is insane, the early days. Now, and there are both different opinions on that. Well, hopefully, listen, we wish you the best with this fight.
Appreciate it.
Sorry, we just had B-roll of you teaching how to stuff a double leg takedown naked. I wish we could have talked about that more. But you look good, Ryan. So, testing or not, that was a video that I'm sure we'll get a lot of feedback from the female fans. People can follow you at Ryan Bader. And where can they tune in to watch this fight?
So it's going to be on Paramount Network. It was an old Spike TV. It's 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and great card. And then we're going to cap it off, be the main event, and the winner's moving on to fight Demetrione. And I'm going to, throw my hat in there to be a 2-division champion and go out there and win this whole tournament.
Well, I can't watch if it's between you, Chael, or Mitrione. I'll just sit on the sidelines. I can't.
Well, what's funny is Matt and I are friends too, and he texted me. He's like, "Hey, can't wait to punch you in the face in October."
That sounds like a healthy relationship.
Yeah, it's good.
We have to go at Ryan Bader. We wish you luck, sir. We'll talk with you again soon.
Appreciate it, guys. Yes, sir.
Every day, comedians like Steven and Jared here just want to make you smile. And Sven Computer, he just needs to have the electric bills paid. He's a computer, for God's sake. These boys need your help. They don't have a big budget, unlike Jimmy Kimmel, who still manages to suck. Do the right thing. Hi. I'm lesbian Sarah McLachlan. For $99 a year, you can join the Mug Club and keep the lights on and keep the comedy going. Because if you don't, I will euthanize these people. I'll put them down like the animals they are. Don't think I won't. I'm a lesbian. I'm crazy.
Turns out the backstroke only works if you're on top of the water.
I just drowned our sound guy.
If you're in the water, you just die. Breaststroke, side stroke, fancy diving to backstroke. No, you just die. You have to be on top of the water. I didn't know this.
This is
also,
news
very
to me
hard
as well.
stroke is the butterfly stroke. If you've
It's
never
not the
done it.
information I thought I learned.
I don't know how Phelps does it. But thank you so much to, of course, Elon Musk, Ben Shapiro, Ryan Bader, Blaire White, we're unbelievable. We have Owen Benjamin. We hope he doesn't euthanize us.
No.
We have an unbelievable week next week.
You know, I was like 23 years old before I realized that when people talked about euthanasia, they weren't just bitching about kids in Nike sweatshots.
I'm not going to lie about that. I thought that too.
I'm like, why is everyone just let the kids be kids?
I thought
let them be. So what if they're Asian?
I thought that when I got in college. To be fair, when I got into I was 16.
16.
Because I was a year younger
I had
than the way
5
the
years
school
on
system
you.
works. But I got there and I remember I found it was one of those things where we were having a discussion in humanities class and we were talking about euthanasia, and the wave came over where the context hit me and I realized I had no idea.
Yeah, I had a friend who was doing a report on euthanasia. I'm like, that's boring as hell.
Yeah, like euthanasia. It sucks. End thesis.
Thesis.
But I like their pokey sticks. I have one Chinese friend who has it in his lunchbox. That's pretty cool. I don't know. I had a lot of Asian friends. We were actually. It's funny. At Centennial, where I was, the Asians only hung out with Asians almost, and then the Middle Eastern Muslims almost exclusively hung out with Middle Eastern Muslims, and but they hated the Jews. So that was their common bond. But it was funny. Like,
was that your crowd?
Yes, that was how they referred to me until they found out that I wasn't Jewish. No, I remember that though. It's very different from here. Even in the United States, you have neighborhoods where they bitch about segregation. But then in places like Montreal, where it's not a melting pot, you may have people all in the same school, but they are completely self-segregated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very, very rare to see an Asian, a Chinese girl, or a Korean girl. We didn't have a ton, but we had some Chinese. I don't think we had any Japanese people at our school. We had a lot of Chinese people, and we had quite a few Koreans. I don't think, as a matter of fact, I don't think I can ever remember any of them being with a guy who was not the same race.
How the Haitians fare?
The Haitians? Yeah, French Canadians hate them because they're racist as hell. Yeah, because they speak French. A lot of Haitians came over there. I didn't have them in my school because I was in an English school at that point. And we had very, very few black
That was
kids.
late. I just wanted to point out the racism of
Yeah, the racism of French Canada.
Yeah.
Didn't you hear? It doesn't exist outside the United States. No. The United States is the
Invented
only
racism.
country in 20... We invented it. We invented slavery.
You're welcome, world.
And melanin. You were making a point here during this, right before we came back with the drowning dance about, earlier we were talking about why do we care what other countries think. And here's the thing. I'm not saying that is necessarily the fulcrum as to how we're going to dictate foreign policy. I'm not saying you go, well, why do we care? No, of course you have to take things into consideration. But it is a genuine question. Why do we care so much?
I think we're learning that lesson right now with the U.S. and the nations in the world as a whole. But I think, a mark of maturity in your own personal life is just figuring out which opinions matter, which ones do not.
Yeah.
Which people do you owe something to? Which people do you owe your best to? And which people they don't owe? I don't owe anything to them.
Yeah.
They don't deserve a part of me. If I can throw them a bone, then I will.
Right.
Wink, wink, Iran. But
I appreciate, by the way, you said give my best, and you pointed to me. He did this. He said he was going to give a part of him.
That was a mistake.
Yes. Your soul.
Your soul.
No, I think it's a good point. Being able to determine who you owe and who you don't. Because that's one thing, too. You'll have some people who have the do what feels good. You don't owe anyone anything. Well, that's not true. And by the way, the Obama thing that you didn't build, that of course is infuriating. But as individualists, there is no self-made man. There are always other people who've helped him, whether it's a wife, whether it's employees, whether it's a team, whether it's someone who encouraged him, whether it's a mentor. I understand that absolutely. And you do owe that person something, if only it's respect. Sometimes you owe someone respect. Sometimes you owe them a debt of gratitude, right? And that's part of being an adult, is figuring out who you owe and who you don't. But you don't owe the whole world a favor.
There's a lot of people you don't owe anything.
There's a lot of people that you do not owe a favor.
Just because they're knocking on your door doesn't mean you have to open it.
A good example, we owe everyone watching this, we owe you. We do owe you for tuning in. I've always felt as though we owe you. Now, we don't owe you doing exactly what you request every single day. What we do owe you is doing this program to the best of our abilities, absolutely. That's why you see we don't rest on our laurels, and we try to constantly do something new, innovate. That Glenn Ross intro was extremely difficult to shoot, and we had to call an audible because we couldn't get an office. We constantly are trying to, like we say, every single performance, re-earn your approval. But this also flies in the face, and this is something, too, I had a lot of questions. We had Mark Driscoll on the show this week for people who aren't Mug Club members. Mark Driscoll, we had Naomi Wolf, some great guests for people who have not yet joined, and I know if you're hitting the notification bell and not receiving them, really the only way at this point is to join Mug Club. If you bookmark this page and you're using Google Chrome, good luck. It's going to be replaced with CNN pretty soon. Something else, too, this idea of you don't owe the world anything. You don't owe anybody anything. There's this idea, too, a lot of people asked, I asked a question with Mark Driscoll, how do you balance being authentic? We were talking about this as a Christian. How do you balance being authentic with still also trying to be a good witness, still also trying to be a productive example, right? Because you have some people who are pious, they just act like they've never done anything wrong. Yeah. And that doesn't help anybody at all. I always felt ostracized from the church as a kid because of people like that. Because they'd hear me and they'd say, well, he said a bad word. I'd be like, yeah, but you forced your girlfriend to have an abortion. The pastor just doesn't know about it. You're far worse than me saying the S word. And I just happened to be in youth group. I always had this sense of kind of justice. So I would get really mad at that. People who try to hide all of their mistakes, their misdeeds. But then you have this message now that everyone should just take pride in it because you don't owe anyone anything. And how do you balance that? I think it was, I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it was Pink. I don't know if it was Rihanna. It was some female pop star who's saying, I don't care. I don't know the world anything. You're beautiful. Show the world who you are.
That was all of them.
Yes, it was all of them. Show who you are, scars and all. And I think this is a good way to look at it because I've struggled with this and I've tried to be honest with you guys about a lot of my shortcomings and issues that I struggle with. I've talked about some of my problems, my personal problems sometimes. Sometimes I've talked about health problems and how I've gotten through them, health mistakes that I've made, mental health issues, dealing with anger. So a scar is a good example. Just show the world your scar and be proud of it. Well, hold on a second. Okay, let's go with that. What is a scar? A scar is tissue that's healed. It was a wound and it's healed. So you're not going forward and telling people it's not authentic to be proud of it before it's a scar. It's taking pride in how you healed that scar. Oh, you know what? I was incredibly overweight. I was unhealthy. I was on the trail to diabetes. But look, that tissue scarred over. I got my health in control. I was depressed. I was bipolar. I thought I had issues mentally, so I went and I sought help, and I surrounded myself with better people. I started making better decisions, and look, that's a scar. That healed. So let me look at this scar. You can heal it too. That's very different from just saying, hey, listen, I'm fat, and I'm a turnip, and I'm proud. That's not a scar. That's bleeding all over the carpet. That's an open wound. There's a big difference between...
We know all those people who just you look at them, you're like, are you ever planning on getting your life together?
Right.
Are you ever...
Don't judge. Don't judge. I'm authentic. No, you're just a mess.
You're just a life suck.
Yes. And you're bleeding like Iran. You're bleeding all over the carpet. I don't want you. That's very different from a scar. And so if you're looking at this, and that's one thing we try to do with this show. Listen, I'm a Christian. I'm not a perfect example. I talk about that all the time. I try to be open about my faith. If you want to talk about it, great, we can talk about it. I try not to proselytize. There are enough podcasts out there that do that, and they're not open about their faults. But I'm never going to take pride in sin or bad behavior or a wound. That is, I think, the delineation that people need to be able to make. Using what you've overcome to help other people overcome it. Or a lot of people say they have to learn the hard way. Not everyone has to learn the hard way. I don't want people to learn the hard way. That's why you show them your scars. I have a small scar here. You know what that was? That was chicken pox. I was told not to itch it. I itched it. So do you know what I tell my nephew and niece? Don't itch your chicken pox, right? That's what I tell them. I had this scar here. That's an what is it? My left or my right? I don't know. The surgeon did such a good job. I can't even see it. It's an appendectomy. I ate like crap. I ate nothing but Pop-Tarts. So I tell people, don't do that. You might not need an appendectomy. Do you have any scars? Any significant scars?
I have some significant scars
let me
from
see.
my surgeries. Yep.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, there's nothing really you could do about that.
No.
Here's a scar. This was from punching through drywall. Okay, warning. Okay, scarred, healed over. I dealt with anger issues. What hurts is when you pull back. Drywall is sharp.
I have a scar right here from running into my own center playing flag football. I tell people now all the time, every day, don't do that.
There you go. How do you heal it? Yep. Don't be a stupid person.
Don't be a stupid person.
Get your anger issues in control and don't punch drywall. It hurts. I'm not going to go, hey, look at me. I'm proud that I made a stupid mistake and punched through drywall because I didn't control my temper and now I'm bleeding. Look at this. You need to accept me. And they go, oh, hold on a second. You're bleeding right here all over my fresh towels. Oh, what? You're judging? Yes. And it's okay to judge. It's okay to make judgments, and it's okay to have scars. But you shouldn't take pride in being a walking, festering open wound. And that's what I was getting at with Pastor Mark Driscoll. And we had a lot of questions from people saying, listen, man, I find struggle with that balance in life. I find struggle with being open about my mistakes, but also wanting to set a good example for people, or also not wanting to fall back into those mistakes. There is nothing wrong with a scar. I think absolutely you should show the world your scars. But that also, by the way, it's redundant. This same pop star, I don't remember who it is, said, look, I am perfect the way I am, scars and all. No, that's redundant. You have scars, which means you're not perfect. You're not helping anyone by saying, look at my scars, I'm perfect. Be honest about the fact that they are imperfections, or you are lying to yourself, and you are lying to the people you could potentially help. Stop with this stupid analogy of the scar. Scars heal. Heal your wounds, then you have something to be proud about. Otherwise, guess what? The rest of the world, even if they say they're not in these message boards or support groups, they're going to be judging you. And they have every right to judge you because you're a walking open wound who hasn't gotten your crap together. Scars, great. Wounds, not so much. Next week, by the way, I think it's going to be a good show. It could also be, the entire week could be one big pustule of an open wound. You never know. That's the roll of the dice. See you then.